Hi there, Scott, ROCKFILE, back with another podcast. It's been a while. Let's talk about Alaska. So I've been living in Alaska 16 months right now, as of right now. Matter of fact, the anniversary is coming up in just a couple of days. That's according to my LinkedIn. I never check LinkedIn, but over the weekend, somebody sent me something. Are you interested? And I went and looked, and it goes, oh, you've been working here for 1 year, 4 months. I was like, wow. Anyway, I thought I would mention a few things that have happened over the last couple of weeks that just don't happen anywhere else, I guess. I mean, I guess anywhere it's cold, these things can happen. There's a phrase around here that when it gets really cold, weird things happen with cars, with buildings, with all that kind of stuff. So, I was driving home one afternoon about a week ago, and I was driving in the station vehicle, had a quick chance to go home, walk the dogs, grab some lunch, and turned into my neighborhood, and the driver's side window just fell into the door. Just shunk. Now, the problem with this is it was about 10 degrees outside, and it was fine because I was close to home, but I had to drive it back to work and then to a garage to get it fixed. You ever drive a vehicle around with a driver's side window that won't roll up and it's 10 or less outside? You turn up the heat as much as you can. You've got everything blowing in your face. You kind of lean up into those vents and you make it. The back of my head got a little frozen, but otherwise it was pretty cool. It actually wasn't as bad as it sounds, although the trip from the station, the trip from the station to the garage seemed to take forever. But anyway, that's just one of those things that doesn't happen. Also, when we had some really cold temperatures a little over a week ago, I'm someone who, now that I've acclimated here, I'm very sensitive to things getting stuffy in the house. And I will leave a couple windows cracked so there's like a little breeze, a little fresh air, freshens the apartment or whatever. We had a quick drop into like around zero temperatures. The windows froze. Could not open them at all. Had to wait till we got some snow and the temperatures warmed up to about 28 to 30 so we could reopen the windows. I don't know that that's ever happened in any of the cold places I've lived. Not that I've lived to a whole bunch of cold places, but that was an interesting thing. Other than that, though, once you get used to the difference in temperature, I want to say the cold, because it's just a difference in temperature. No matter where you live within a fine range of degrees, usually 50 degrees or less in most places, which varies from day to day, month to month, year to year with the seasons and such. Here, we do have 4 seasons. It never gets quite as warm as it does in the south, but it also never gets quite as cold as it does north of us or even in places like Colorado. Here on the Kenai Peninsula, which is the southern part of the state of Alaska, it's protected on sides by mountains and jet streams and all that kind of stuff. We just stay a little warmer here. We get less winter here than the rest of the state. We don't see what you see on TV. Although as someone who grew up in the South and never had real snow, it's nice to have real snow. Things look like Christmas and Winter Wonderland all the time, which is great. The city and the borough are great about cleaning it up. My neighborhood's not so great, but the rest of driving is not too bad here. I'm trying to think of other things that have happened in the last couple of weeks that just haven't happened to me anywhere else. The windows freezing in the house, the car. Getting my car started that day when I had the window, I needed to, we're going to take the station vehicle and I probably need to drive my car back. So I got into it. Hadn't been driven in a couple of days. The ignition wouldn't turn. The ignition was literally frozen. There was enough moisture in the vehicle when it got really cold that ignition was just... So what did I do? Extension cord and a hairdryer. Yep. Hairdryer for just a couple of minutes on that ignition, the whole block assembly there, and turned right over. Older Jeep Grand Cherokee started right up in some pretty cold temperatures after having its ignition frozen. Never had that happen before either. So something new. Other things about Alaska, the constantly changing time. I usually talk about that in every single of the podcasts I do about the state because not too many people mention it. For somebody that was born and raised in the East Coast and East time zone, and other than a few years in Central, haven't really lived in other time zones, it has been the hardest thing to adapt for me. I get up earlier than I used to get up, which used to be regular as clockwork. Still adjusting that, but after 16 months, I'm pretty much into a routine. Thankfully, it was harder to get used to all the light in the summer than it is in the winter with the lack of light. Today, here beginning of December 5th, we are down to about 6 hours and 4 minutes of daylight today. And that will get less and less until the 21st when we have pretty much no daylight. Then we start going back the other way until summer, and then we have no darkness there in June. So anyway, these are some things that I'm dealing with here in Alaska that are absolutely wonderful. I got to say that the change of the seasons, the changing of the time, all that stuff, it's obviously different than what I'm used to, different than where I grew up and that kind of thing, but it also keeps things interesting. Last week, Christmas came to Kenai with the parade and everything. They have big bonfires to keep you warm. It was pretty chilly out that night, but it was fun. This past weekend was the Christmas tree lighting and the Christmas in Soldotna in the park. It was pretty cold. Soldotna, you need bigger fires. They just weren't as big as the Kenai fires, and it was pretty cold out there watching the carolers and all that. It's a wonderful time, and if you ever get a chance to visit the Kenai Peninsula, it is just like nowhere else. Everybody gets along. Our crime rate is almost non-existent. It's just a wonderful place to live, work, and do radio. Having a blast. We're doing our shopping with Santa, and we're going to different locations every week. It's been a blast so far, and continues to be so. And big things are on the horizon. So I'll keep doing the podcast and keep telling you every once in a while about Alaska and some interesting things that happen here. More moose sightings are on the way, I have no doubt. I'm Scott Hamilton. I'm ROCKFILE. My links are below. Thank you for listening, and have a spectacular day. Happy holidays.